Okay, all right, today we are talking about work. And we're gonna start off with talking about how I started when I first started working, my very first jobs. That's where we're gonna begin this. And when I first began working, I didn't have the same goals that I have now. I had very different goals and different ideas of what the work world was. And a lot of that is because just like you guys, if you're very first starting out in the work world, you don't really have an idea of how much you should be making, what you're capable of, things like that. So there's a lot of unknowns, right? So that makes it a little bit harder. And I was in the same spot that you guys were. So when I first started out, my youthful goal, the thing that mattered the most to me was I had looked at what had come prior, the things I had seen with and the people around me, and I saw what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. And the things that were the most important to me, one of them was job security. And what I mean by job security is like knowing that I'm not going to get fired from this job, or there's going to be some sort of downsizing or something else that eliminates that position, so suddenly I'm not having a job. That was scary to me because I'd seen that where people suddenly didn't have work or didn't have enough money to pay for things, and that worried me. So a job that gave me good job security was really important. Wealth really didn't matter a whole bunch. I wasn't trying to make a whole lot of money, and I didn't even think for the long term like, oh, I'd like to be rich or anything like that. As long as it was secure, and then I had something at the end like a pension. And are you guys familiar with the term pension, what that means? Okay. Yeah. So you're not. So a pension essentially is when you've got somebody who works a particular job, and at the end of it, it's a position, say like the military or like a cop job, where once you're retired, they actually continue to pay you a percentage of whatever you were making when you retire, pretty much for the rest of your life, till you die. And so that was the kind of job that interested me at the beginning, simply because I didn't know how to save money for retirement. I didn't know how to do anything where I'd be I guess investing and having something left over. So I figured as long as I had a job that paid me, even once I quit doing the job, that's the perfect job for me. So I initially looked at something like the military. That's interested me as a kid, and I even went through like a boot camp for teenagers. And I found out from there that I did not belong in the military. Not that I didn't succeed. I did well in it. I did well, with the physical side, but I really didn't like the level of restrictions. And I'm not knocking that for anybody else. It's just certain, I think, personalities fit in the military, certain don't, and mine didn't. So I decided right then and there that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I looked at, like, say, a police officer job, like becoming a cop, because very similarly, they have a job that unless you really blow it, it's tough to get fired from. And at the same time, at the end, once you retire, you get a percentage of what you make pretty much till you die. Once you have to put in a certain amount of time. So that became interesting to me as a job, even if it wasn't a job that made a bunch of money. My biggest concern, what drove all this, was I didn't want to get stuck working my whole life beyond my retirement age. I didn't want to not be able to provide. So I didn't want to lose a job, and I didn't want to be working until I was like 80 years old. And I was really driven by these fears. That made me more concerned than anything else. I had no concept, as I mentioned to you, of finances. I had no confidence that I could one day do more than what I was currently doing. And that's normal. Again, I tell you this right now, don't be concerned about that, because until you've gone out and you've tested your mettle, and you've really kind of put yourself up against what's out there and seen how other people work and how your work stacks up against it, how your intelligence stacks up against theirs, you don't really know what you're capable of. I mean, people can tell you, oh, you can do whatever you want to do, you can, have whatever job you want to have, but it's hard to feel that and understand it until you've been out there in the work world and you're like, oh, okay, whatever they're doing, I'm capable of doing that too. So it's very normal to feel like this, to kind of have not really a good idea when you're young, before you've really had a job.